All right, so here's the test review for this test, okay? I'm starting off with problem number 1, and so I just wanted to make sure that y'all can see how we do it here. Now, what I do first is I go to the calculator and graph this, and if you need to see that tonight, then I can help you with that, or tomorrow, sorry. So graph that on the calculator, then do the menu trace, graph trace, to find the zeros and the vertex. Okay, so those are the 3 points that I found. And I have them listed there on the key also. 0, vertex, 0. Okay, plot those 3 points. Then that's when I'm looking at the, if it's with a greater than symbol, there's no line underneath, I'm going to make that a broken parabola. So there's me making the broken parabola. Greater than means I should shade above. So that's what I'll do, is shade above, and I'm looking at those points and there's me shading above. Okay, again, if you have any questions on that, feel free to ask. So just as a quick reminder, you might want to pause the screen when this is done, but there you go. These are the broken solid, shade below, shade above type of thing. Kind of remember that. You might want to make sure you make note of that. Pause so you can maybe copy this down if you need to put it on your note card. Okay, now, again, keep in mind here, when you're doing this and typing this into the calculator, you've got to remember those keystrokes you've got to press. If you have to write that on your note card, then do that. Here's a slightly different version. Same thing, type it into the calculator, do the menu graph trace to get the zeros and the vertex. Again, vertex would show up as a maximum or minimum point. Okay. Put those into graph those points. It's a solid line, as you can see, with the less than or equal to, the line underneath. And since this is less than, I need to shade below. And below on the parabola would be outside again. Okay, so there you go with that. Okay, again, if there's any questions, feel free to ask. All right, I skipped number 3, don't know why, but here we go with number 4. What I would do, I thought about this for a while, and I thought the easiest thing to do would be to set it equal to, first off, set it equal to 0, and just solve it with the quadratic formula. Okay, you can type it in the calculator, all one thing, to get the 2 answers. So do the A, B, C, type it all into the calculator. I've seen a lot of y'all already start doing this very well. And when you do that, your 2 answers should be -7 and 4. Okay, you plot that on the number line, -7 and 4. These are, if you go back to the original equation, that x squared plus 3x minus 28, or I'm sorry, minus 14 greater than or equal to 14. The greater than or equal to would tell you that it's a solid line, or closed dots. Then I test a point in between those two, and the easiest one to test in this case is 0. So I put a 0 in there in place of the x's, and when I do that, I will get -14 is greater than or equal to 14, which obviously is not true. So since 0 does not work, no point in between would work, which means then I need to shade outside, and thus my answer should be x is less than or equal to -7, or x is greater than 4. So again, on 4 and 5, you can solve those by first making sure you get it equal to 0, then just do quadratic formula. I think that's the easiest thing to do if you know how to type it into the Inspire. That makes it super quick and easy. Okay, so you can see here I've already moved the 4 over, set it equal to 0, so -7 minus 4 is -11. So my A is 2, my B is -1, and my C is -11. Plug that into the calculator, and what I will end up with is an answer of -2.1 or 2.6. Plot that on the line, and then again I can test 0 because it's right between those two numbers. Put 0 in place of the x squared, the original equation, and is -7 less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is, so I would shade in between, and thus just go ahead and have it like that. That would be my answer. Okay, again, if there are any questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to try to go over them. Number 6 is just a word problem that involves the same thing. I'm writing it out like there's the function, the -8x squared plus 600x minus 4200. greater than or equal to 6,000, because I want a profit of at least 6,000, which means the function has to be greater than the profit. So I move the 6,000 over, subtract, I get negative 10,200. So my A is negative 8, my B is going to be 600, my C is going to be negative 10,200. That one you definitely have to deal with the calculator. Plug it in, do quadratic formula. You should get an answer of 26.04, $26.04, and $48.96. Okay, so we're going to test a point in between, and by now you've probably noticed most of the time they are in between. But again, let's test it. So I put 30 in there. I put 30 in place back into the x squareds, and I'm trying to see if that answer will be greater than 6,000. I believe when you do that, you'll get an answer of like 6,400. So obviously when I put 30 in there, which is a point in between, it does work. Gives you an answer that's greater than 6,000. So then my answer should be in between. Thus, my x has to be in between 2604 and 4804. Oh, I'm sorry, 4896. I don't know why I wrote 4894. That should be 4896. Okay, number okay, obviously I got number 7 erased, but okay, number 8 is right here. I start subtracting. 22 minus 11 is 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. Negative 3 minus a negative 2 is 5. Negative 2 minus negative 4 is 2. Now notice how I'm saying that, and notice how I'm reading it. I'm literally saying 22 minus 11, then 11 minus 3, then 3 minus a negative 2, and negative 2 minus negative 4. And those are the answers I get. Since the first answers are different, I can now look at the second answers. And the second answers are 3, 3, and 3. Since those are the same, my answer should be yes. Number 7, I should have done the same thing. But when I subtracted, I would have had 8, 4, 4, 1. Subtract, and you've got 4, 0, 3. So on number 7, when you subtracted, these were the first answers. These are your second set of answers. And since the second set are still different, the answer was no. They're not equal, or they're not quadratic. Okay, number 9, take the points.
Alexa.
Okay, on number 9, take the 4 points. Remember, the first column is all the squares, the x is squared. So 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4, 7 squared is 49. Then put the x's 3, 2, and 7. Then a column of 1s, raised to the negative 1 power, times the y's, 0, 3, and 8. Press enter on the calculator, and you should end up with 1, negative 8, and 15. Okay, so that means f of x, this is your a, again, 1 is your a, b is negative 8, c is 15. Put them in order. 1x squared minus 8 plus minus 8x plus 15. Number 10, the exact same way. You can see how I'm putting those numbers in. Raised to the negative 1 times that. Press enter on the calculator, and that's what I would get. Negative 2, 3, and 1. So that would be negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 1. Okay, so keep that in mind, and that should be, like I said, those should be pretty easy. Alright, here's me graphing. Hopefully y'all understand that now. A, because I went 3 to the left, that's negative 3. Then I went up 3 on the I part of it, which is 3i. So I write that as negative 3 plus 3i. B, you can see here, I'm going to the left 4, that's a negative 4. Then I'm going to go down 4 on the I, negative, so that would be negative 4i. And negative 4, negative 4i. C, over 2, up 2, 2 plus 2i. D, you can see is negative 3i. I can write 0 minus 3i if you wanted to, that's fine. Here you can put here 0 minus 3i if you wanted to. Okay, that should be pretty easy. If there are any questions on that, feel free to ask, but I don't think there should be any questions on that. That's usually pretty easy. Okay, that should be 16. All you got to do is take the numbers that are in front, the 4 and the 5, square them. Don't even worry about the sign, just put 4 and 5. 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. When you add them, you get 41, square root of 41. There is no even square root of 41. It's a prime number, so you're done. That's it. Can't even simplify. Here, notice I'm going to put 7 squared plus negative 6 squared. And notice again how I put the negative 6 in parentheses. You got 49 plus 36, which is 85. Square root of 85. All right. The next ones, notice how I rewrite the problems. You might try it like this. So I do 3 minus 7i, and under that I'm going to put negative 5 plus 10i. Gives me negative 2 plus 3i. Then I've got the 9 minus 15i. Notice I'm changing the sign. Because of the minus that was in front of the 2 plus 3i, I changed the sign of those two numbers in parentheses as I moved them under. So now I'm saying 9 minus 2, negative 15 minus 3, and that's my answer. 20, 5 times 5 is 25. I times I is I squared. Remember, I squared is negative 1. So negative 1 times a positive 25 would give me negative 25. All right, let's look at 21. Now, the way I like to do this, I like to do what is called vertical multiplication. It should remind you of like 2-digit multiplication back in elementary school. So I move the 4 minus 3i under the 5 minus 6i. Doesn't matter which one you move under. Just line them up. So now what I'm going to do is negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. I times I is I squared. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And then just put the I. Then I can go to the 4. 4 minus 6i is negative 24i. 5 times 4 is 20. Combine your like terms. Bring down the 20. Negative 15 minus 24 is negative 39. Don't know why I wrote 29. And then 18i squared would become, 8i squared is negative 1, and so that would become 18 times negative 1, which is minus 18. Combine your like terms, you'll have 2i, 20 minus 18 would be 2, minus what should be 39i. Okay. Practice that. Hopefully there are no questions, but just feel free to ask. When you look at a problem like 22, to simplify, you need to divide the exponent by 4. So I'm dividing by 4. I get a remainder of 2. That's what I care about. I don't care about the 6. I care about that 2. That's like saying then I have like I squared, which I squared is negative 1. So 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Yes? Number 23, multiply by the conjugate. And then what you will notice here is this. Here's one little bit of a shortcut. You don't need to multiply, like do the whole distributive property. When you do a conjugate, it's like sum and difference of 2 squares. So really all you need to be concerned about is this. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3, not even worrying about the sign, is 9. 4 plus 9 is 13. There's your denominator. That's how you get the denominator. That's the easiest way to do it. Just say 2 squared plus 3 squared. A squared plus B squared. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And you're done. That's it. Okay. 24 multiply by negative 5i, both top and bottom. And when I do that, negative 5 times 7 is negative 35i. Negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20i squared. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25i squared. Now, I squareds, remember, are negative ones. So that's actually going to change the sign. So I have negative 20, because that positive 20 will now become negative 20, minus 35i, because I like to have the i's at the end, over positive 25. Simplify, you can get everything divides by 5, and you end up with negative 4 minus 7i over 5. That's the review. I try to make it quick. Hopefully you paused when you needed to, but if you do have questions, feel free to ask in class. All right? Thank you very much.